Senator Smith.
Thank you very much, Mr Acting Deputy President. And can I also share festive greetings to Senator McGrath and others in the chamber. So, we have been having a debate this afternoon about so-called barnacles and so-called broken promises. But let's be clear, what we have heard is carping and cliches. Carping and cliches from the other side. What we have not heard is an alternative. What we have not heard is a different plan. What we've not heard is not one single new idea from those opposite about how we can put this country on the best fiscal path possible. How we can put this country on the best fiscal path possible has been missing from the contribution of Labor senators today. What they would like you to believe, that we should erase from our memory the last 6 years of Labor rule across this country. 6 years that was dominated by poor policy, poor implementation and a string of budget deficits. They would like you to ignore that from the current fiscal challenge that faces our nation. They want you to ignore. They want to refuse to admit that the country has a debt and deficit disaster. They refuse to admit that it's a disaster of their own making. And importantly, they would like to repudiate, they would like to reject what 4 Labor leaders have said. They would like to reject what 4 Labor leaders have said, and I'll come to that in a brief moment. But let me just start with the commentary from a distinguished Australian businessman. Let's hear from Maurice Newman about what he thinks about the challenge. Oh, heaven, thank you, Senator Cameron. I can't wait for the interjection. I can't wait to the laughs when I get to the commentary of 4 Labor leaders about the budget problems and your failure. 4 former Labor leaders, what are they saying about your failure to meet the challenges of the budget problems that we have? Let's hear from Maurice Newman, a distinguished business leader. This is what he says. The shortened opposition still fails to acknowledge the magnitude of the problem. It plays semantic games questioning whether our deteriorating fiscal situation is a genuine budget emergency. It ignores copious evidence that a political tipping point is reached long before an economic crisis becomes a reality. He goes on to say, by playing to welfare dependence, class envy and the notion that there is nothing serious to worry about, the illusion has been created that there is a painless growth option. The illusion has been created that there is a painless option in terms of getting the budget back to surplus. And of course we know the truth of that. There is no pain-free way. Unfortunately, there is no pain-free way to correct the economic vandalism and recklessness of the former government. So, I think more critically than what Maurice Newman has had to say, is Labor's repudiation of what Bob Hawke has had to say, Labor's repudiation of what Paul Keating has had to say, Labor's repudiation of what even Mark Latham has had to say. It's not good enough. It's not good enough that they reject the distinguished commentary of Australia's business leaders, but they are rejecting the commentary of their own Labor leaders. So let's turn to that. What did Bob Hawke and Paul Keating say in the Australian newspaper on the 1st of January this year? What did they have to say? And I'm quoting directly now from the Australian newspaper. It says, Bob Hawke and Paul Keating, that's your Bob Hawke, that's your Paul Keating, Senator Billick, Senator Cameron, Bob Hawke and Paul Keating have urged the Abbott government to slash spending and speedily repair the budget and bottom line, things that you are stopping the government from doing. Bob Hawke and Paul Keating arguing they faced up to a similar challenge in 1986-87 when the terms of trade collapsed and the dollar plummeted. You've got to have a Prime Minister and Treasurer and a competent ministry which understands the issues and is prepared to make hard decisions.
Order.
You are repudiating one of your most distinguished parliamentary leaders. I don't mind saying that the economic stewardship of Bob Hawke and Paul Keating was not bad. I don't mind saying that. I'm not proud enough. I'm not too proud to be able to say that. And you too, Senator Billick, you too can embrace what Bob Hawke and Paul Keating are saying and be part of the change that is necessary to get the country to get the country back on track. What did Bill Hayden have to say? Another distinguished Labor leader that Senator Cameron and Senator Billick would like to ignore, would like to erase from their history. What did Bill Hayden say? Again from the Australian newspaper, this time just last month, the 8th of November, and I'm quoting from the Australian newspaper, former Labor leader Bill Hayden has urged the party to build economic credibility, has urged the Labor Party, Labor senators in this place to build economic credibility with voters and stressed the need to reduce the influence of factions, to reform its internal structures and overhaul its policies to regain government. I don't mind. It is to be expected that Labor might reject the commentary of this government, might reject the commentary of distinguished business leaders, but when they start to reject the commentary of their own former Labor leaders about the importance of establishing economic credibility, that is the bottom of the barrel, and unfortunately Labor senators in this place have reached the bottom of the barrel.